So many high-achieving women are doing everything right. The career, the credentials, the external success. And yet inside, it feels like something is off. Not because you're ungrateful, not because you're failing, but because no one ever taught you how to work with your emotions instead of being run by them. Today, I'm sitting down with Saren Eads to talk about the skill that quietly determines everything: your decisions, your self-worth, your capacity for fulfillment.
Yeah. When you have your prefrontal cortex engaged, that's the part of your brain that does all your critical thinking, your analysis, your decision making.
Most women try to think their way out of emotional overwhelm, but thinking harder isn't the solution.
Yeah, scientifically, it's about 90 seconds.
90 seconds. That's how long an emotion lasts, unless you resist it, intellectualize it, or judge it. And that resistance, that's what keeps women stuck for years.
And so being able to bring that feeling into my everyday life, non-dependent on a circumstance, that's what I think emotional wealth is.
If your life looks stressful but doesn't feel fulfilling, if you're burned out, emotionally exhausted, or quietly questioning everything, this conversation will change how you relate to yourself and what you believe is possible from here. This is Super Bloom Coach, the podcast for ambitious women ready to 10x their business and their life. I'm your host, Moriah Riona, award-winning luxury brand designer and certified life coach. And every week, I'll be here as your Super Bloom coach, helping you ditch the limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck, small, and broke. We'll dive deep into the mindset, marketing, and strategy that actually moves the needle. Plus, have candid conversations with powerhouse women entrepreneurs who are blooming big in their own businesses. If you're ready to grow, you're in the right place. Saren, thank you so much for flying all the way from Hawaii to come see me. I'm so excited to have you on today. So we are going to be talking about your specialty, which is emotional wealth, right?
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit about, what does emotional wealth mean?
I think when we think about emotional wealth, it's best to pair it next to financial and time wealth as well. Because we always talk about financial freedom or time freedom. Emotional wealth or freedom is where you're able to actually enjoy and have the energy to enjoy and experience the other parts of your lives. So the ability to be able to feel and process any and all emotions so that you can feel alive and vitality and go through your existence getting the most out of this life that we can.
Yeah, and coaching must really help with that because we're not taught to process our emotions. No.
Yeah.
So what do you see come up when
I was gonna say, actually, it's so primal of us to actually want to disdain emotions, actually run away from them, the complete opposite side.
Yeah.
Because our brains, especially our survival brains, is wired to conserve energy, seek pleasure, and avoid discomfort. And so discomfort is often anything that's unfamiliar. And so oftentimes when we're feeling a big emotion, it can feel really unfamiliar. Even a really positive emotion like abundance can feel really unfamiliar if we haven't experienced it that often. Yeah. So that's why sometimes we can be afraid of that success or afraid to really lean into that joy, or we only celebrate for 2 days and then we're done.
Yeah. Because it almost does feel uncomfortable.
It does.
Because it's unknown.
It's unknown.
That's crazy. And it's funny because it's that thing that you're chasing after. Yeah. And then you get it and it doesn't feel good. Yeah. That's crazy. So we're going to dive into your framework in just a second. But I'm so curious, who comes to work with you and where are they at? What are they struggling with?
That's a really good question. So mostly I work with women who are building just a bigger and better life. They are living and they have this pull for more, and they notice these subtle subconscious little blocks that are who are you to do that? Or a little bit of imposter syndrome, or they just need a reminder of who they are authentically and how to actually reflect that into their opportunities that they go and get into the world. And so oftentimes they are entrepreneurs, or they are business owners, or they are people who are writing a cookbook or writing a book or doing a TED Talk speaker. Like it's like a big variety of people, but they're all after a dream, like a dream that they think would just bring a lot of fulfillment and like love into their life. And we work on achieving that dream, but also enjoying the process on the way there,
So
that
big.
the journey is equally as rewarding as the destination actually is.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I have an art degree. I have a degree in graphic design. And it wasn't until I went through to get my degree that like I learned about the creative process, because we always want that finished product, but it really is about the process. It's the moment by moment, because you're kind of, at least when I was in art school, by the time you're done, you're kind of over it. Like you have to enjoy it in the moment. So that's so powerful.
Yeah. On one of the retreats that we did, we went and released sea turtles. And this sweet man is in his 60s, and he just decided that like that's what his retirement project was to do this nonprofit.
Cool.
And he was saying that if he waited 10 years for the sea turtles to come back, and that was all he was waiting for, he would miss out on so much. But because he was like enjoying the entire process in those 10 years of like saving turtles, letting them go out to sea, and like letting other people experience the joy of that, he was like, that was the best part. It wasn't the 10 years later that you get to see the success. It's like the entire journey.
Yeah.
And if you think about like our lives and like what we get to experience here, it's like we don't want it to just be a destination.
Right.
Because
the destination's the end.
the existence and like the energy and the experience that we want to have as long as possible.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because one thing that I've been working on so I work with female entrepreneurs, but we've been talking this last month about creating emotions on purpose and actually like choosing the emotions you want. And I think that's pretty mind-blowing to most people that that's a possibility, because I think we always feel at the effect of our emotions, and the idea that it's something you can actually choose, I think is so powerful.
I totally agree, because emotions are signals. Like they are communicating, they are speaking a language to us, and they have a lot of information. And I like to think about like emotional wealth as like a spectrum. Like oftentimes we like want to run from the emotion, like feeling misunderstood, like embarrassment,
Right.
like, oh no, please no. And there are emotions that we want to get far away from. And then there's like, we have like a relationship with emotions that is more like, okay, I'm willing to like feel you, but just so you go away. And then there's like kind of like that neutrality of like, okay, I can feel you, it's okay. And then there's like, okay, I'm feeling you. Like I'm in this, I'm ready. And then there's I'm running towards you because I want to feel you to my fullest extent, to glean as much information as possible from this experience. And when you think about choosing the emotion that you want to have on purpose, that's emotional wealth. It's the ability to actually feel and process an emotion all the way through and express an emotion. I feel like that's also, we'll talk about how to actually do that. But the ability to do that in positive and some more uncomfortable emotions is actually what creates the most abundance in our lives, because our brains will avoid that discomfort. They will avoid whatever is going to exert too much energy. And also seek pleasure. So we have to figure out a way to use our emotions to create safety, to actually go after what we want. Otherwise, we're going to find ways to avoid discomfort or like avoid it. And like, it could just be like cleaning your whole house instead of like recording a podcast episode. Like it'll be like little subconscious ways that you're like, oh, well, I was still productive. You will see, when you're in an avoidance of an emotion, your behavior will change ever so slightly. That'll either like self-cancel you from opportunities or not be in the energy of the person who has exactly what you want. Like you will take a step back in so many different areas. And so when we can process that emotion, you create an authenticity, which allows you to actually step into the roles that you want to be a part of and be and act as if you are the version of yourself that has the result. And you're able to create so much more congruence, which then creates a lot of magnetism in where you're going.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it's interesting because, you're talking about emotional wealth, and like most people think about, like you were saying, financial wealth, time wealth. But the reason we chase those things is because of the feeling we think that it will elicit. So really the baseline is your emotional wealth, right?
Yeah, when you create emotional wealth, in my experience, it's only created in expounded on my financial wealth and my time freedom as
Right.
well. Because, and if I oftentimes think of this too, like all of my clients, when they come to me, they're in a fear that they're going to have to give up emotional wealth in pursuit of their financial freedom
right.
or their time freedom, or that something's going to have to give. Whether that's like, I had a client that wanted to travel the world, but thought she couldn't date at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
Or like another client that wanted to be a mom, but thought that her yoga business would collapse. And I was like, I thought the same thing when I got pregnant. I was like, oh, I guess this idea of this business that I want to have might have to take a pause. But when you have emotional wealth, you're actually able to prioritize your lived experience while calling in the opportunities that you want to have. So like I was able to actually start my business and create my first 6-figure year with my daughter's like first year of life.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing, right?
That's so
Like,
crazy.
It's amazing, but it's because I started believing that you could have both and that like what I did to build my emotional wealth or like my own lived experience was actually building the business, and it was building my journey as a mom, and it was like coexisting in a really beautiful way.
That's amazing. Well, let's dive in because I have a ton of questions, but I want to know your 3-part approach to emotional wealth. So let's start with part 1.
Yeah. So mindset, the ability, like when you think about choosing the emotions that you want to have in your life, it's going to come from the way that we're thinking of our like lived experience. So how we're interpreting the world around us, the way that we're thinking about things, the way that we're interpreting or having the relationship with our businesses or the relationship that we're having with money, the relationship that we're having with people around us, with opportunities in general. That is how we think about the world around us and how we think about ourselves in relation to the world. Mindset can make a really big difference in our ability to actually create and have success in a way that feels really good to us. Because when you think about emotional wealth, it's not doing it everyone else's way. It's the ability to grow your business or your passion project in a way that feels good to you because it's authentic to you. It's not what everyone else has done. Like for me, I do not do well like with a lot of grinding or hustle or pressure. Those emotions are actually the opposite. They put me into like a halt and I take a big fat pause and like I burn out and like I don't take any more aligned action from those emotions. Well, I know other people actually do work better under pressure or like they are able to do that. So it's like figuring out what works for you.
Yeah.
My cute husband was like, if you've made so much success in just working 20 hours a week or less, imagine what you could do in 40. I'm like, I would waste so much time. I just wouldn't be as dialed in, as aligned as I am now. So like using your systems and like the way that you function to as your gifts, like as your ability to actually create. And you do that through changing the way you see yourself and the way you see what you're working on.
That's awesome. So let's talk about part 2 now.
Part 2 is emotional regulation. So like nervous system work. This is actually a lot of somatic. So when you think about your mind, like we think about why mindset is so important is because your mind drives everything that you do. It creates your exact reality in the world around you. Second part is most of your mind is subconscious and your body is where your subconscious mind shows up. So like that's where you like accidentally clean the entire house instead of recording the one video that you need to record, or like how you accidentally don't reach out to that specific client because like you're a little more nervous. It's like the little tiny behavioral cues that are happening, like the micro and macro expressions that are happening. Those are coming from an emotion in our body. And so in order to process those emotions and like kind of get back down to baseline and not have those emotions running the show, we need to regulate and to ground. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. It works different for everybody. So it's kind of like everyone listening, it's like go find your specific way of doing this. I'll give you a couple different ones you can try and then just kind of run with them, practice them. It's a learned language. So you get to kind of figure out what your own little accent is and like how you want it to work.
Let's talk about that. What are some examples you have?
So the very first, like, I will say that the skills are so simple, but they're not easy.
Right? It's like all good things in life.
Like, and the goal is to feel aliveness in an emotion. And so when you are feeling an emotion and then expressing an emotion. So let's talk about feeling first. You have to be in your body. Your body is communicating. And we live in a world where it's so easy, especially as women, to disassociate from our bodies because we've been taught to. And so I remember the first time I started like feeling an emotion, I was like, my only experience with an emotion was like an outburst. where I was like having a huge like hormonal like sobbing session.
Yeah.
And like that was around the time of my cycle. Like it was around that time of the month. And I would have like just big outbursts. That's not what I mean with feeling an emotion. What I mean is diving into your body and doing a body scan. And so you can just kind of look head to toe. I love to close my eyes when I do this. It helps me like be in my body, not my head.
Yeah.
And I literally just imagine starting in my head, being like, this is where my mind's thinking, and start like kind of dropping in to my body and figuring out like, where am I holding any tension? Is it in my shoulders? Is it in my neck? Where am I feeling sensations?
Yeah.
And then you want to describe those sensations to yourself with neutral and like common language.
Okay.
As if you're describing it to a little girl.
Okay.
And so like a little version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So my little daughter, I was like trying to explain to her one time I was feeling like a lot of like panic, and I was like, oh, it kind of feels like you're being suffocated. And I was like, wait, that's too scary. Like we actually, it's like, it feels like it's harder to breathe, or like I'm feeling like I'm getting less oxygen in with each breath, or like my muscles around my neck feel tighter, like just kind of describing it neutrally, because we're not trying to scare ourselves with these emotions. We're not trying to scare
making it worse.
Our inner child, or like making it worse, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just describing it with neutral language. And what this does is it helps bring our prefrontal cortex back in gear. Because what happens when we're going through a big emotional response is that it's subconscious. So it's like our subconscious mind is running the show, and it actually creates a different wavelength that will that's like firing at this time that's much slower, and it'll create like a bogged down or like a slower computing style. You won't be able to problem solve as effectively. When you have your prefrontal cortex engaged, that's the part of your brain that does all your critical thinking, your analysis, your like decision making. You want that part of your brain on board when it's going through and processing an emotion. And so how we do that is we get curious. What does this feel like in my body? You describe it like you're a little scientist, or like you're explaining it very neutrally. And what that does is it activates that part of your brain where both can't coexist. Like a high subconscious, primitive survival brain can't exist at the same time as your prefrontal cortex. And so that's why that's so helpful, is to get into your body. That's why it's so effective, even though it's simple. So that's like step one. If you've never done this before, I would say just check in your body multiple times a day. Just be like, what does this feel like? You can do it in the shower. Be like, listen to your favorite song. Be like, what does this feel like? Just explore what it feels like to be in your body. And good emotions, melancholy emotions, hard to feel emotions, just kind of explore them all, because oftentimes, like we were saying earlier, the feel good emotions can actually be what's most uncomfortable for us.
How
to like let ourselves have abundance.
Yeah. So you're saying to explore these even when they're not just occurring, to just go in and say, I'm going to feel what melancholy feels like. Or, oh, wow.
Yeah. So like your body specifically will always have like signals or information, but when you're first getting started, sometimes it's only when you're like at that time of the month that you like actually like check in. And so this is an invitation to check in throughout the day, just like kind of seeing what things are feeling in your body as you're getting more used to that language that your body is speaking. And I use the term language, but it's mostly just like learning what signals mean what. So like I carry a lot of tension, especially postpartum, especially after like the trauma that I experienced with my health journey, in my neck and in my jaw. And so it's like a ton of tension like up at the top, and it's very much like a protective, like my shoulders are like kind of caving in, and like it's a protective feeling, like they're trying to protect my heart, protect my soul, protect my energy levels, protect me. And as I spent like more time feeling those feelings, like a lot had to be expressed, and that's kind of like part two, is like how to actually express or move an emotion. It doesn't have to logic. I think that's something that's also really helpful, is like acceptance of these emotions. Sometimes they're going to come up and you're going to be like, that doesn't feel like even my emotion. It doesn't even feel like it makes sense for what's going on currently in my life. It could be something stored from when you were like a child, right? Like these emotions can be stored. And so it's like not judging them when they come up, and then figuring out a way for you that works where you can move it. And so for me, I love going on like a meditation walk where you're like able to like walk, and it's like walk towards your future self, or just like you could look on anyone on a Spotify or like even the podcast app, and just like find like a walk or meditation where it's like walk towards your future self, like feel in your body while you're moving, while you're walking. That like bilateral stimulation is really good for being able to process an emotion. Dance is an amazing way to like actually drain lymphatic drainage. So like
Oh,
getting
wow.
the stored emotion out. I love yoga as well because when you're doing yoga, basically the asana is like putting you in an uncomfortable position and then you hold it. And so you show yourself that you're safe in discomfort.
Ooh,
And so
yeah.
processing through yoga is a really great way. You could also just research like, how do I like yoga for fear or yoga for anxiety or yoga
Yeah.
for whatever emotion that you're dealing with. And it can help you be able to pinpoint like those certain areas of your body where you typically would store those emotions.
Yeah. And let's talk about going in and feeling those emotions for a minute, because I know that like, it's funny what you said about how it's like, oh, that doesn't feel like my emotion. And it's funny because when I started doing coaching and then I became a coach, and it's like I had this new level of awareness of emotions, right? Like I was tracking like, oh, I feel this way,
Yeah.
which I had never done before. You're just at the mercy of your emotions. But like, that's not the end all be all, because it's like, I would just have stuff come up and be like, I don't understand. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's such a good point that you're bringing up is like, oftentimes we tried to like logic them away, or
yes.
we're like, oh, this doesn't make sense right now. Like my life is happy. I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
why am I breaking down or like feeling like I could burst into tears?
Yeah.
And again, being postpartum right now, I get a lot more of that don't make sense because I'm in a survival state with my newborn, like with my little baby. And so that kind of nervous system is just a lot more sensitive, like currently in my body. And so to be gentle with that part of my body, to be gentle with what comes up has been so helpful, because what actually hurts the most in an emotion is our resistance towards the emotion. It's the tension we build trying to not feel the emotion.
Yeah.
That's what we hate the most.
Right.
When you actually like let an emotion and accept it, which we can talk about. There's 2 different ways that you can practice accepting.
So let's go back, because I love what you're saying about logic and emotion. I literally was just talking about this. So I was saying last month we did Feeling for Success. And it's embarrassing to me as a coach that I didn't realize until very recently that I was trying to, I think I said like, be logical about my emotions. I was like trying to think through my feelings, because we know like that the thought creates the feeling. So I was going straight there, never allowing myself to feel the feeling, right? Because I thought I could think myself through the feeling.
Yeah.
And like, it's crazy to me that I've been doing this for so long and only just had that realization. And I think we are so cut off from our bodies and from we're just so good at numbing that and not realizing like, no, when you say feel, it's like actually literally feel the feeling.
Yeah. Most of us women are very intellectual. We can think ourselves out of almost anything, including hard emotions, and completely bypass. And so like you were saying, like, especially with coaching tools, you can totally bypass.
Yeah.
Does it work? Does it create abundance? Not as effectively, not with as much ease and flow, but you can. And I think that we get used to that, because I found myself in similar patterns where I was like, oh, I can think myself right into a better launch. Like, why not do that? Versus like actually processing like the fear of being seen, or the fear of failure, or like the fear, whatever like emotion was actually brewing in me. It'd be so much easier to be like, no, I actually cognitively can believe this.
Right.
And that's why going back to 95% of your brain is subconscious.
Right.
So the fact that emotions don't make sense is because we don't actually have awareness around it. Subconscious means unconscious. Like we don't know. And so that always gives me just so much grace with myself to be like, oh, this is something stored coming up. This is something that my body's trying to communicate.
Right.
And it doesn't have to make sense, but that's just what's going on right now. And so how to create that acceptance, because going back to resistance is actually what hurts the most. That tension, the fear of the actual emotion is the worst part of it. When you actually feel an emotion, like it could be like rippling anxiety through your body. And for me, that feels like really swirly and like big and like expansive. But when you let that actually feel all the way through, you actually get like a beautiful, like for me, it's like a beautiful, like kind of color of like creativity inside me as well. Or like scarcity has so much power in it because it shows you what you actually desire.
Yeah.
And if you were to be afraid of scarcity, like I have been,
Right.
or like sometimes comes up for me, you could totally bypass like how important something is to you. Or if you're not feeling scarce about something, maybe you're not dreaming quite big enough or going after what you truly desire. So each emotion, like envy or like jealousy or
the ones you feel bad
ones that feel
about,
bad,
right?
that you feel bad about.
Or guilt, you feel almost guilty. So it brings up other emotions.
Or shame, right? Like all of these emotions, they're actually telling us something that is really insightful information for us. So like scarcity is like, oh, this is something I fear losing ahead of time. This is something I'm grieving ahead of time. And so you're able to be like, okay, because this is so important to me, I'm already thinking about what it would be like to lose it.
Yeah.
And that is like actually really beautiful, and you can like meet yourself there. And so how to actually create this acceptance, because I think that's one thing is really, really hard. So there is my coach, Jewel Homan, she taught me a self-compassion model. And basically it's the science of how to actually create gentleness or that self-compassion with yourself. And the very first thing is awareness. So we're good at intellectualizing. We're good at awareness. All of the ladies
we got
here,
that.
we got that. So like this awareness is super helpful. Step 2 is common humanness. Which is just being like, this is a normal human experience. And there's a couple ways you can say that or do that. I love to be like, of course this is happening. Like, of course this feels really heavy. Of course this is scary. Other things is like, I wonder how many women right now in business are feeling this exact same way.
That's powerful.
It's so powerful. It creates like this common human experience, which makes it, it makes it so you're able to look at it from an outside perspective, almost like you're watching your daughter go through it or someone you love go through it. It adds
compassion,
that self-compassion.
Yeah.
And then you're able to kind of step into this self-kindness where you're like talking to yourself gentler, a little more kind. And so in order to do that, you just, 1, awareness, 2, common humanness. Like how many people are going through this right now? How human can you make this experience for yourself? And then you can access a lot more kindness just automatically. Your brain will start thinking kinder thoughts from those processes.
Yeah, that's so helpful.
Which is so helpful. And so how I like to add acceptance is like imagining this emotion. I like to visualize it coming to my door. What does it look like? Fear is often like a big dementor for my clients. Like it's like scary thing. And then it comes in and it sits on the couch and it like snuggles in and it just needs like some love, you know? And then they're able to like kind of watch it soften and watch it like melt, and it's allowed to stay as long as it needs. It's coming in for tea, ask it what it needs, and building that acceptance in like a little creature is actually really helpful. Or like emojis. You can like imagine like an emoji movie is like coming in and like the like an emoji's coming in, or like Inside Out where you're able to like imagine like a little cute creature is coming to bring you an important message. And so those are ways that it makes it easier to accept, because big, huge, fiery anxiety in your body doesn't feel good to accept. Fear, not easy to accept. But if it's like a little creature coming your way, much easier to be like, okay, come on inside and let me have you sit for as long as you need.
Because then it feels like there's not so much attachment to it either. It's almost outside of you.
Exactly. Which creates that prefrontal cortex that helps you process. And that's the most important part, is like to be able to actually move this emotion through and out. Because like you said, you could feel an emotion all day, every day, and then just sit in it and ruminate in an emotion. That's a little bit different than actually feeling it. Feeling it is like in your body doing those scans, and then letting it exist with acceptance. Because the second we resist, again, that's the tightness, that's the part that feels the worst.
You literally feel the tension.
You literally
It's really interesting what you're saying about the resistance, because it is so true. I think we expend more energy resisting the emotion or like just constantly trying to like force it down. Because what I've noticed is when I started practicing actually feeling an emotion, it doesn't last very long. When you like shine a spotlight on it, it dissipates fairly quickly. It's the like butting heads against it that can go on for hours. And it's really painful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Scientifically, it's about 90 seconds.
Crazy.
That an emotion can like
if you just
live,
face it.
If you face it. And again, when you're facing it, it can just be like some movement, like some like an energy flowing in your body. It's not something that's actually that scary. Like even like grief to me is like in my stomach, but it's like love that doesn't know where to go. Like it's like I loved this person so much, and it no longer is on earth for me to like pass that love to. And so it's actually a really beautiful emotion.
Yeah.
And when you're resisting that grief, that's when it hurts.
Yeah.
And if you just open up to like the actual emotion, that actually doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah.
It makes you feel alive while also holding the pain. And so like you were saying, like this ability to like feel an emotion, the actual skill of doing that is like you let it intensify in your body. Like you'll feel like, okay, where am I feeling like unease?
Yeah.
And can I let that intensify? And it will, and you're going to want to shut it down. You're like, no. Like that's a little too
feels
much.
Awful. Yeah.
It feels awful for just a few seconds. And then it'll just kind of start to dissipate ever so softly.
It does. Yeah. It's interesting because it's almost like we imagine it like a character or whatever, but like with these very like defined borders, it's like this thing.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, when you shine a light on it, it doesn't have a border. It sort of just like fades away.
Yeah. And sometimes emotions are so big, like when you're going through like a really hard time in your life and the emotion is so big. I like to sometimes imagine that I have space around me in my physical form where it doesn't have to just sit in my body. It can sit like kind of outside of me too when it feels too big for my own body to like hold. And that I experienced after a miscarriage with our second loss. And so I was like, I felt that feeling so big. I was like, and it felt too big for me to hold. So I just imagined like a glowing, like kind of aura around me that could help me hold it when it felt too big. And so if you're numbing out, that's a protective mechanism. If you're disassociating, that's a protective mechanism. And so it's either teaching your body that these emotions are safe or also giving yourself grace that like, that's scary and it's okay that they feel scary right now. And just kind of meeting yourself where you're at, because any type of this work is going to help bring more emotional wealth into your life.
Yeah.
Like, again, these skills are simple, but they're powerful and they're not easy.
They're not easy to do. Right. It's like all good things in life. Very simple, but like actually doing it. Yeah. It's interesting because we talk about feeling the emotions. And I was just thinking recently, my own coach, I was talking about feeling anxious, and she was telling me how like when you actually feel the sensation in your body, anxious and excited feel very similar.
Yeah.
And that was sort of like mind-blowing to me because I was like, oh, like one is a desired feeling, the other is not, but they feel so very similar. So
yeah, absolutely. Abundance and overwhelm. It's the ability to hold a lot.
Wow.
Feel almost identical.
I literally got chills when you said that.
The ability to hold space or a heightened capacity is actually what's going to call in more abundance because it's going to feel it. So it's like getting used to holding all the beautiful things. Because oftentimes what I see is we'll get what we want and then we'll be so afraid of losing it that we won't take the next step towards whatever else we want. We're like, no, we're good here. And that's, I just imagine so many entrepreneurs going through that journey. Like, no, business is safe here. It feels good here. It's now familiar here.
Yeah.
And even though abundance is beautiful, it's still unfamiliar. And so our brains need time and our bodies need time to kind of acclimate to that new sensation and growing your capacity. So like if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, you're like, oh, I'm practicing abundance. Like this is what it feels like to hold a lot of good things in my life.
That's amazing. I literally got chills when you said abundance and overwhelm because I could like feel it. Like it's the same thing. Like that's so crazy. Well, let's talk about the third part of your approach to emotional wealth.
The third part I call creating vitality. And this is like a few different pieces, but it's the ability to take action that feels aligned, that fuels you along the way. So like for me, it's like taking care of your body. It's like doing those walks, doing the yoga, like being able to get your body into a position that like feels really good where you get to rejuvenate your energy. Because oftentimes we use up our energy and then we get exhausted trying to do the next thing. And then we don't actually ever rejuvenate. So it's like doing more of what we actually love, what actually fuels us, what ignites us, following desire, especially as women. It's so important for us to follow desire. And so we have to be able to be in tune with our thoughts and feelings in order to do that. So it's kind of like the third step, not that it's like 1, 2, 3, but they all kind of go cyclically. But this ability to actually take care of your body. And so with my clients, I do this with naturopathic medicine, where they're able to meet with a naturopathic doctor, get their hormones tested, their cortisol, like anything that might be a biological factor that could drain their energy levels. And it's like, let's make sure you're getting enough iron, that you have the right nutrients in your body, that like you're not deficient in anything, because that was actually something on my own journey that changed my entire life. I had no idea that my hormone, specifically estrogen, wasn't metabolizing properly. And so it was causing things like excess weight, where I would just like hold on to weight in my body, swollen lymph nodes, or like in my chest area, specifically around my period, really bad cramping, chin acne. Like there was just so many symptoms that I had no idea was an estrogen dominance that I just was so used to. And so that's why I think this piece is so important, is because we're so used to the energy levels that we currently have.
Right.
Like what if you can, get 20% more energy just by changing the way you think, processing and feeling emotions, and then lastly, helping with this biological factor as well.
Yeah. And so do you mind talking about your health journey that sort of led you here?
Yeah. So my whole journey was, I found out that we have thoughts and that they create emotions for us in our bodies.
It's mind-blowing.
And it helped heal anxiety that I was having after my first miscarriage. And I went from being afraid to go to the beach with friends because I thought nobody liked me anymore, to like the fear of going to Costco because I thought I would break down at any minute, to feeling anxiety like a normal emotion in my body. And it came from understanding that my thoughts were creating a feeling. And it wasn't like I was thinking about my miscarriage all the time.
Right.
So I was like, what thought am I possibly having?
Right.
I was thinking I was broken or like emotionally like shattered. And so if anything else came and like, another shoe would drop, I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Right.
So my brain was constantly scanning for things
Protecting
that I might
you.
not be able to handle.
Right.
And so even if they were illogical, that's what was going on out of that protection. So that was the first thing that changed my life. Let me ask you,
that was probably more of a subconscious thought.
Yeah.
Right? Like not an actual articulated thought. This like, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
How did you see that, before it was an articulated thought, how did you see that coming up?
That's such a good question. For me, it was like constantly fearing little things. Like I felt it actually in an emotion, but I was like scared to do normal everyday things. And I was like, my miscarriage created a hormone imbalance, created obviously this anxiety. And so I saw the connection. But then when I found out through a podcast that there's a thought happening, my first thought was like, I'm not even having thoughts about my miscarriage.
Right. Yeah.
And so how I made it conscious was I actually journaled. I wrote out things that I was thinking, like kind of did a brain dump. And I started thinking like, I recognized I was thinking I was broken. And it made so much sense because I was like, well, yeah, my brain has to fix something that it thinks is fragile. And so it's trying to fix things and like force me into all this change all at once. And like, that's what was making so much like contention in my body and like feeling that anxiety.
Yeah.
And so once I recognized, the next thing that the podcast asks is it true? And so I was able to look at the thought, I'm broken, and be like, no, actually, I'm pretty resilient.
Right.
Like, I'm still okay. Like, I went through so much, and I am still holding myself today. I'm actually pretty resilient. And if I had to go through it again, I could. I wouldn't want to.
Right.
But if I had to, I would be okay. And that's when I realized that, like, that something else clicked in that was like, I finally felt that in my body. And I was like, I'm safe.
Yeah.
Even though this was hard. And I'll be okay if something else hard happens. I would still hate it. I gave myself permission to hate it. But I'd be okay.
All of a sudden you have faith in yourself that you just was not there before.
It created a secure attachment with living, with like being in my own experience.
Yeah.
And I think before it was like anxiously attached, right? It was like constantly afraid that like something would happen.
Yeah.
Or I think oftentimes we see it like avoidantly attached to our lived experience too, where we're like, or like to our dreams specifically, because we're like, oh, like I want this dream, but I'm not going to like go after it because like I don't think that I can actually have it. And we might like take a step away.
Right.
But when you create that secure attachment, you're actually able to go after your dreams because you know you're going to have your own back. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you feel a really, really big feeling and you think some really hard thoughts.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting because I think I think you were trained in a similar method as me for coaching, but I think we did so much of like thoughts create feelings, but like, I think for the longest time, I just thought that these thoughts were just running as actual sentences through my brain. And it's not been until, because I would get like down on myself, like, why didn't you see that thought before? And it's not until very recently when I've been building my own program that I think that there is like the model. And I think that, sort of before that, there is that subconscious limiting belief, because I think a belief exists more nebulously than a thought, like a sentence. And I think a lot of the work is uncovering these limiting beliefs before you can even put something in a model.
Yeah.
So, and like you were saying, you journaled about it, and that's how it emerged from you. And I think when we are able to find these practices that do that, when you find the thought, like I am broken, or I can't handle this, you found the thought because it hits so hard. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. My journey was very, very similar, where I was like, okay, that was the first step that changed my entire life. I was like, maybe I could do this someday. Maybe I could be a coach.
Yeah.
And as I started like exploring more, I found there was so much subconscious that like I logically was like, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe I'm broken. Like, like logically, I was like, I don't tell myself that story very often. And I think especially in this coaching industry with your clients, with my clients, it can get really, once we know how to think, like once we know the mindset tools, it can be really easy to be like, oh, but we don't actually think that way. Like I'm positive my launch is going to go great. Like, like we don't actually think that way. But that's why the subconscious piece became so important in my story. So like that was my second kind of piece that changed my life, was learning how to feel in my body, because there's a difference between telling yourself this is all going to work out and I'm proud of myself and this is awesome, and actually feeling that energy in your body. One will create a result and one will not.
Right.
And that's how you can, like, if you are ever sitting in an experience where there's results that you want that you don't have yet, it's because you don't have an integration of an emotion yet.
I love that so much, because I think it's so true. We get, especially like, you get a taste of this coaching stuff that can really change your life.
Changed my life.
Right.
And it was step one.
It's step one. Right. So one thing I'd love to talk to you about, I know we've talked a lot about having emotions that maybe we're sort of avoiding or resisting, and these are what we would maybe call negative emotions. On the flip side, because I think it's related, but it's a very different like approach. How do we choose how do we choose feelings intentionally? How do we like lean into feelings that we want?
I love that. It's going to be in your body, because you could so easily do what we were just talking about, which is where you completely bypass with positive thinking.
Yeah.
And that can also feel really good. It almost gives you like this high, but it doesn't actually ground you in a like centered emotion. And so for your clients and my clients, like they are probably pretty good at this by now. They know how to think, especially coaches, like they know how to think.
Yeah.
And oftentimes where we can get stuck is that we're not actually feeling a difference in our actual body.
Yes.
And so that's where we want to be expanding emotions as well. So like when you think about like, what's an example of an emotion that you want to practice expanding?
Like I love abundance or wealth, like feeling wealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love awe. So like that's kind of my access to wealth, is like feeling awe.
Oh, I like that.
And so oftentimes different places in your life during any time of the day, if you notice yourself feeling that, it can be so easy to shut it down. So easy to just jump to the next thought, or like, oh, but what else do we have to get done? Instead, sit with that. So like for me, it's like a ball of like yellow golds, like kind of in my chest and sacral tummy area. And I just imagine it expanding. Just like you would let a negative emotion intensify, let a positive emotion intensify, and just like see yourself hold it.
Oh, I love that.
And it feels so good. Sometimes it's dancing in the shower, like to a jam that you love. And like, it's like really intimate, and it's like nobody else around. It's just you. Sometimes it's when I'm on a drive or when I'm on a walk, I'll just like imagine just like this beam of light, just like radiating on me. And the more we can do that and practice that, like acceptance of those types of emotion, the more comfortable they will be with us.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've done some meditations where it has sort of this like visualization in the light and like feeling love or compassion or something like that. And like that is sort of the first place where I've like just like I had to do this meditation several times, but one time I just felt like my whole body was melting. Like it was a very physical, I felt so much love pouring out of me. And I still grapple with like, wow, it was fleeting. And how do you maintain that or just make space for that and not, it's not like a one-time thing when you're doing this crazy meditation.
Yeah. Well, I think it's two pieces. The more you lean on the opposite side of the spectrum on purpose into like the shame, the hard, the discomfort, the more access you'll actually will have to the other side
like
too.
open up the other stuff that you,
the more you're willing to lean to this side of the spectrum, the more your body will let you lean this way too.
Interesting.
So like the more you lean into grief, the more you're going to be able to access love. Like it's all encompassing. So I think that's part one is like growing a respecting and loving relationship of every emotion. There's some that I like grief, pretty good relationship with, but like other ones like disgust or like rage, those are not pretty. Like, like those ones I have a harder time with. And so you can kind of just discover like which ones do you need to lean into a little bit more when they're active and present in your body with acceptance. That's what I mean by leaning into. It's not like raging out at somebody. It's just
not
like
choosing rage.
Accepting this is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And so I would even say to feeling positive emotions too. It's like, okay, this is where I'm at right now, where this wants to like come and go. And that's okay. I'm walking the path of having this linger longer.
Yeah.
And just like stay with me.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a practice, like just practicing it a little bit more.
Yeah, I really like that. So I'd love to know like kind of more your coaching journey because it came out of your health journey.
Yeah, so that was kind of like the third piece that changed my entire life was I now could process and feel an emotion through my body, and I realized how much stored tension I was holding that I didn't know was causing fatigue and like such energy drain. And I didn't know that there was like a biological factor. Like I said, it was just my normal life. I was a mom, I was a business owner, I was running like Airbnb properties. Like I was just like going,
I think that's so powerful to touch on is that like we only have our subjective experience and a lot of us become accustomed to these like baselines that maybe don't need to be where they're at, where we don't realize how drained we are. So like having that awareness too, I think is really important.
Yeah. And so I hit a rock bottom with my health where I had a really bad gall attack. I went to the doctor. They recommended emergency surgery. While I was talking to the doctor, I asked her specifically, like, you say pregnancy can make this worse. This was also 2 weeks after I just miscarried our second baby. So it's like I was in this like hormonal detox basically that was happening in my body. And I was like, you say pregnancy can make it worse, but how? And she didn't have an answer for me. And I was like, is it estrogen? Is it progesterone? Like, what is it? And so then I remember she was like, well, the urgency to getting this out would be to have another baby. And I remember just sobbing in the parking lot being like, she just told me that I could choose to keep a vital organ in my body or, which they say you can live without, but also it has its complications. Right? Or have my dream come true, which is having our next baby. And at the time that felt like choosing between my own health and my body and a baby and kind of going back to my entire process of success has always been like, how can I have both? And so I listened to a podcast. I really
like that. Like, I feel like that sort of flew under the radar there, but like not a lot of women claim that. How can I have both? Like, I think we're like, I would never say that because it feels indulgent. And I love that you just said that. Like, that's so powerful.
And I was having I got pregnant with my daughter. And again, I was like, oh, okay, I'm working full-time in HR. Like, how do I replace a corporate salary with this coaching business I want to start? I got certified in October. And I remember thinking like, oh, I can't have both. But then I started practicing a new way of thinking, like, what if I could in my own way? And so like this belief that we can't have it all, I don't think we should ever have anything that's not serving us.
Sure.
Right? Like having it all, it's like it doesn't have to be for an ego or for anything like that.
Because having it all feels burdensome.
Yeah.
But
having your prioritized pieces in alignment, that's where like I feel like true living really exists, because I wanted to be a mom so badly, and I also wanted to help people in this skill and this gift that I have, and it fuels me, like it reignites me. So like I'm able to like give in a way that feels so healing outside of motherhood, and then vice versa. It gives me so much for motherhood as well.
That's amazing.
And so I have experienced, I can have both. And so in my health though, I'm like, could I really have both in my health?
Yeah.
And so I started just learning more about hormones and your gallbladder specifically. And your gallbladder is where you digest your hormones. So no wonder when I was metabolizing hormones, something wasn't metabolizing properly. I was able to get some testing done with a naturopathic doctor, and it was my estrogen specifically was going down a wrong pathway that was actually toxic and can rearrange your DNA. So it's like toxic to your body in too high of a dose. It goes down 3 different pathways. We don't have to go into like too much of the science, but I'm so fascinated that there was a solution. I started taking, it's called a dim detox, but it's like cruciferous vegetables, and it helps you detox that type of estrogen specifically. I felt like a 19-year-old girl again. I was like, I could do cartwheels every day. I was just like feeling on cloud 9 and expanding that like ability to like to feel wealth. I had a new baseline.
What's your timeline for this?
So I miscarried end of January last year.
Okay.
And then February 20th, I was hosting my retreat.
Wow.
And or 22nd, I was hosting my retreat. On the 20th, I had my gall attack and was in the ER. And I had to host my entire retreat.
No.
Not knowing if I was going to go into emergency surgery or not.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy town.
Yeah.
When that, and then it was about 4 months of being able to heal my body before I got pregnant with our little miracle baby Liam. And he, it's a boy, and he has just been the biggest little miracle. I love that both of my babies are rainbow babies, and that they both feel like awe. Like that awe is speaking to is like, so I just feel awe being able to care for them and have them in my home to be their mom. And so it was about 4 months, but it was almost like probably like 30 days of changing the way my body was metabolizing that I felt instantly better through my diet and through specifically the different supplements I was taking that was specialized, and then movement, like just like getting my body outside and like taking care of my body in a different way. I was able to reduce those stones so much. I got rid of gallbladder disease. I was able to dissolve the stones quite a bit until I gave birth. And then 2 weeks later, I had a bunch of gall attacks all again, just like same thing, because the stones were now small enough to get into the bile duct, but I couldn't stop them from squeezing. Like the gallbladder will squeeze when it's digesting hormones and fats and things like that. So I ended up having to do an emergency surgery at 4 weeks postpartum.
Oh no.
Which was so hard.
I had to do the same thing though.
After your baby? Yeah.
So after my first one. Yeah, and those gallbladder attacks are not fun.
I'd rather give birth multiple times.
I said that too.
Yeah.
I thought I was having a heart attack. So it was crazy.
Your rib cage feels like it's shattering.
It's so painful.
So painful.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And so learning that there was a biological factor here too, I was like, every woman needs this, because oftentimes those hormones and emotions are so linked. Your gallbladder is known place for like resentment or rage or anger, and oftentimes women are the ones that struggle with that. The way your body holds energy and stores energy is so important, and there's a combined factor in like your energy levels. And so to be able to feel the full vitality, it's like, why not hit it on each factor? Especially like being a parentified oldest daughter, you're gonna have certain labs where your cortisol is high, where you just get used to high cortisol as your baseline. But when you're able to actually regulate that, you can feel so much more energized. Like, do you ever look around and be like, wow, how do they do it all? Like, how do they do all those things when you're just like drained all day?
Yeah.
I now know what it's like to have both.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think every woman should get that baseline. Like everyone should be able to have those labs run, be able to do it and like have an affordable option to be able to take care of their
And you
health
include that as part of your...
Yeah, so I include that in my coaching package so women can do the testing. It's actually really cool. They do genetic testing too, so you can find out what foods really help your specific blood type, as well as other like neurotransmitters. So you can find out like for mood and motivation and like things that will help you along your journey. And then there's also just like the hormones, the cortisol levels, the nutrient levels, and making sure like everything's like where you want it to be. And you get to meet, obviously I'm not trained as a doctor, but you get to meet with my specific doctor who's able to meet with them 3 times during our package.
That's so cool. So Saren, we met actually over a year ago now, which is hard to believe. We met in San Diego at the Jamie Berman retreat, which was so special for me. And I remember that was just a really magical, like her, if you don't know Jamie Berman, you have to check her out. But she just has a real, just magical energy. She talks a lot about manifestation and money, and I love it. And we were vision boarding and talking about what we were calling in. So I'd love for you to talk about what you called in, because you just made it happen.
I think it's so fun because at the time I was so scared to say I wanted to call this in. Like, I don't know if you remember, but I was like, I don't want this at the expense of my emotional wealth.
Yes.
And so I don't want it.
I do remember you saying that.
I had to get some coaching on it. And so what my big goal was, I don't even think I said it in the retreat. I think I had to like heal that and then said it right after.
Okay.
But my goal was to make $1 million, like to become a millionaire before I turned 30. And I am now about to turn 29 at the end of this month. And I just a few months ago hit a net worth of multiple millions of dollars.
Amazing.
And right?
Congratulations. That is so cool.
And this is something that's so uncomfortable to let myself just hold.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it feels like I have a friend that always says new levels, new devils. And
That's amazing.
I think I thought that it would feel different to have millions of dollars. But
you just carry your same stuff with you everywhere you go.
It's same place, the same house, the same people I'm living with, like, the same town.
Isn't that funny?
It's all,
and it's chasing that feeling, like we were talking about, because we think the feeling is going to cause us, or we think the circumstance will cause us to feel a different way, and it doesn't, does it?
And so being able to like bring that feeling into my everyday life, non-dependent on a circumstance, that's what I think emotional wealth is. And so to be able to actually feel awe and wealth.
Yes. So let me make an assumption. You had to do that before the results showed up.
Definitely. Yeah. I think what feels so crazy to me is I didn't want to sacrifice my emotional wealth, so it couldn't feel like forced to bring in $1 million. It couldn't feel like force, or else I didn't want it.
Right.
And I thought that the only way to make $1 million was through force.
Yeah, but then
feels like magic.
You were like, I'm going to have both.
I'm going to have both. The emotional wealth and the financial stability.
Yes.
And I do think the process that we talked about today is actually like how I access that, even though I'm sitting in what feels like the miracle of it, of like, I have no idea, but like, You do. Yeah, because you've done the work. Yeah. It's just that like when you're in it, you have to have that faith, that like unwavering faith in yourself. Yeah. So I was just thinking about when we first met, I just remember you brought such a fun energy. I was like, I want to be her friend.
Oh my God. I am so grateful that you got on a plane and I don't even know why I asked you that, because we did an introductory call to talk about what we were going to talk about on the podcast. And just like this little voice in my head was like, I wonder if she could come live. And you live further away than anyone I've interviewed. And I was like, hey, are you going to be around Colorado at all? And like, you weren't. I mean, you weren't.
You're just an hour flight.
Yeah, you flew into Utah, but this was like a month ago we talked, and you're like, let me see if I can make this work. And like, this is so magical.
So I thought so too. And just like thinking about how we met in a space of like manifestation. Like I just remember I had an experience in that retreat during the Reiki where I had a vision where I saw my little baby's face and I saw gold, just like gold things flashing. And I was like, what if this means that everything that I want is on its way?
Yeah.
And I just kind of sunk into the feeling of that. I wouldn't tell you that I like thought about it often, I wasn't like, oh yeah, $1 million is on its way, or like, I'm living my dream, it's on its way. Like, I didn't cognitively tell myself that story very often, but I did feel a big vibration of like.
So you weren't chasing thought.
I wasn't chasing it.
It was the feeling. And not chasing, but like it wasn't the thought, it was the feeling. It's what we've been talking about all day. Yeah.
And specifically with the thought and feeling, it's like it was so integrated in my system that I wasn't trying to feel something. I was just feeling it. And I think that's the biggest difference too, is like whenever I'm trying to manifest, I'm actually not manifesting. I'm trying.
Yeah, because you're acknowledging a lack, right? So,
but when I'm just being, that's when the essence kind of hits.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I've just experienced with hitting my $1 million goal is I was feeling more essenced. It wasn't something I was trying to have. It was just something that I was aligned for and created.
That's amazing because you kind of were already feeling it ahead of time. So when it comes, are you just like, oh yeah, I know?
I would say like I think that's why it feels so weird. I thought it would feel different.
Yeah, right? But you've been feeling that way all along.
Yeah.
So you felt different a year ago.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I do have a question. One thing that I grapple with a lot is this sense of self-worth. And it's funny because I think I come across as this very confident individual. And people are always surprised when I say that, like, I'm an introvert, I have anxiety, whatever. But something that I've always grappled with is not feeling worthy. And I think that it's very much a subconscious thing. And I think it's something that is taught to us in our religious upbringings and something that I've struggled with. But I know in growing my business, my own personal coach over the last year, like the thing that keeps coming up is this, like, I know what I want, but like, who am I to get that? And when you said, well, of course I'm going to get both, that was so empowering to me. So how do you deal with that if you're dealing with these like subconscious feelings of not feeling worthy?
That's something that I'm working on a lot postpartum in therapy is like there was with going back to like my primitive or like the way like it feels like I'm in my high school brain. Yeah. It's like kind of what's going on. And it's very much like seeking acceptance from like my partner, from people around me. And so it's like I'm kind of like weaving myself into the person I think they want me to be.
Interesting.
And that is obviously exhausting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like you're saying, like this like need to be worthy outside of yourself. So some things that I did was I did a lot of soul connection, which is when I described that like bright, like kind of pillar of light, like this like gold essence inside me. I feel that. Like I just like kind of opened myself up. I'm feeling it right now. It's
That's
like
awesome.
And I did yoga with a person one-to-one to like really access that. She like really helped me like go through meditations to be able to access that on demand.
Not like just a yoga workout, like you did like more of a spiritual yoga.
Yeah, so it's asanas are like the movement of yoga, and it's only 1/5 of what creates like the soul connection of yoga.
Oh wow.
And so it was through meditation and movement, but it's like a combination that we mostly did. But it's like there's a lot of different breathing, there's 5 different pieces of it that bring you that soul connection. And so she's amazing. I highly recommend her. Her name's Moriah. And
great name.
Yeah, she's amazing. You would love her.
Is she local to you?
No, I met her in Maryland and we became really good friends. And then she was a teacher and I was like, you should quit your job and do what you love. And she was like, you're right, I should. And she did. And then she replaced her salary and she's been doing it ever since.
That's amazing. So I'm assuming this is something you can do online.
Yeah. So I did it in Hawaii. So I did it online with her. And then she now has a course where she has a group program. We meet every 2 weeks. And then you have like a course where you can go through like different emotions. So like fear yoga or like all the different asanas for things. So like huge shout out to her. So I would say that was probably the best way to create that type of worthiness because it's like my soul doesn't need anything else. It's completely whole.
Right.
And the more I connect into that, everything else is just like almost chatter of like that conditioning that we were taught.
Yeah.
And it did take me a bit to like kind of peel back some of those layers of deservingness too. I would say that's what I did a year ago at the retreat was like letting myself actually receive because I didn't feel deserving of receiving or I felt like I had to work for it to receive. So it's like, I think
you have to earn it.
Yeah, you have to earn it.
Like because we're taught you have to earn it. You have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's the two parts of like letting it be uncomfortable to receive, but practicing,
I
like leaning
like
into
that. Like, yeah, this, because I don't know that I've ever acknowledged that it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's totally uncomfortable
Yeah.
to like have something you don't feel worthy of.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or that you didn't earn.
Uh-huh.
Even just talking about my $1 million, like I was
Yeah.
like, but I didn't really earn it, guys. Like,
But you did.
but I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so I think that when I think about my own journey, that was more of like, I wasn't doing that to receive more money. I was doing that just to like feel worthy, period. And it expanded into.
Right. Because because like the money is flowing. Your lack of self-worth is the thing that's blocking it.
Yeah. I would say self-worth is something that I really have dealt with my entire life too.
Yeah.
And so whenever I see it come up, like I said, again, postpartum, it's like, oh yeah, this is going back to that common humanness is such a common young woman experience, especially like you were saying with our religious conditioning and like the, just all the conditioning in our society.
Right.
Like it really does reinforce that quite a bit.
And it's funny because what I see is like, I've done so much of the work intellectually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know, like, my personal belief is that we're all worthy of all of the abundance of the universe. Every single human being has inherent worth. I believe that. But it's funny how I don't believe that on some level, on some subconscious level. I haven't like integrated that like you're talking about. Yeah. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah, there's probably some negative emotion around having that.
Like guilt. It feels like guilt to me.
Yeah, guilt. Yeah, like that I shouldn't have it. It feels wrong.
Yeah, the thing that comes up all the time is who am I?
Yeah.
Right? So, and I think a lot of women deal with that.
Yeah. And so like making that kind of common humanness piece of that too.
Yeah.
It's like this is the part of you that was taught that its whole life. And it thinks that if you let that go, something terrible might happen.
Right.
What does it think might happen if you did let it go?
Yeah, it's that I would be a selfish person, or it's the guilt. It's like, yeah.
What are you afraid of being like seen as? Not to go like super coachy on you, but like I do feel like it has a lot to do with visibility too, because you could have it like, for me, I could have it secretly, like
right. And it's interesting because it's something that I actually struggled with for a long time, because I was a luxury brand designer. And I didn't grow up with luxury things, and it was something that my family very much looked down on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I never had brand name things growing up, and we didn't want to be seen a certain way. Yeah. So it's a lot of that. Yeah. And now it's like I have designer handbags, I have a luxury car, I have and it's like I had that stuff secretly for a long time. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. That's really interesting. It's what does it mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially if you think about like your inner child, that got reinforced of like, this is wrong to seek, to want, to have. And I think finding like kind of expanders in the world around you, like even our conversation today, or like I have some good friends too that I'm like, Whitney, I feel like she's so good at she helps people become famous. She's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like she's so good at like helping create that common humanness, and like, you were taught this, and like it's a common experience to have. And it's just like a part of us that thinks that way. It's not all of you. It's just like a little piece. And it's a piece that's protecting an emotion specifically, or like protecting your soul. Yeah.
Yeah. And unlocking that, figuring that out. Amazing. Well, I could talk to you forever.
No, for real.
We'll just have to do a Zoom call, just you and me later. But I know so many people are going to want to know more about you, where they can follow you, how they can work with you. So where can people, and obviously we'll put everything in the show notes below, but What's the best way for people to connect with you?
The best way is just on Instagram.
Okay.
Saren, SarenEads, and come and DM me there. We can like start kind of building your dream in the DMs, like thinking about like what is it that's like really blocking you, or like what subconscious thing have we not found that like we want to explore. Like I love introducing just like dreams and watching them become real, and I love when that starts from like a stranger on a DM. Like,
I love that.
It's so
That's
fun
awesome.
to like see that.
I have met actually some of my best friends on Instagram.
Right?
They were strangers, and so
yeah. My favorite coach, I've worked with her almost 5 years. I just was like looked up life coaches, and I found one that I was like, "You're so cute. Can we be friends?" And then I hired her.
How can you say no to that? That's awesome.
She's the cutest.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Saren.
It was such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for flying all the way out here. This is magical.
It was such a good
conversation.
conversation.
This is so cool. Yeah.